Satellites stand out as one of a nation's vital resources, playing crucial roles in both civilian and military communication. In the military domain, satellites serve key functions such as intelligence gathering, early warning systems for enemy missile launches, and offering precise guidance to various military assets, including missiles, aircraft, and warships. Hence, disabling the satellites of a specific nation would render it vulnerable in a conflict. To achieve this, anti-satellite or ASAT weapons have been developed. This includes missiles that can be launched from Earth, as well as offensive satellites that are designed to take out an adversary's satellites. But a recent development seems to be pointing to a much more dangerous system. A senior U.S. government official suggests that Russia is moving to put a nuclear weapon in space designed to destroy satellites. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why Russia's nuclear anti-satellite weapon is very troubling. Let's get started. Before we proceed, a word on NordVPN, which is one of the most trusted VPN brands worldwide that has a no-log policy validated by Deloitte, an industry-leading Big Four auditing firm. NordVPN provides an encrypted tunnel that protects your privacy by preventing external entry to your internet traffic, as well as enabling you to access content that's blocked based on geolocation. Best of all, with one NordVPN account, you can secure up to 6 devices at the same time. Get an exclusive NordVPN deal with massive savings by going to nordvpn.com/defense or clicking the link in the description. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Mallory Stewart, Assistant Secretary for the Bureau of Arms Control, Deterrence and Stability, told the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, the United States is extremely concerned that Russia may be considering the incorporation of nuclear weapons into its counter-space programs based on information deemed credible. The worry is centered on a specific satellite development Moscow claims is aimed at testing electronics. She said, "The United States has been aware of Russia's pursuit of this sort of capability dating back years, but only recently have we been able to make a more precise assessment of their progress. Russia has publicly claimed that their satellite is for scientific purposes." Stewart elaborated, "However, the orbit is in a region not used by any other spacecraft. That in itself was somewhat unusual, and the orbit is in a region of higher radiation than normal lower Earth orbits, but not high enough of a radiation environment to allow accelerated testing of electronics, as Russia has described the purpose to be." She further added, "Our analysts assess that detonation in a particular placement in orbit of a magnitude and location would render lower Earth orbit unusable for a certain amount of time." Stewart did assure listeners that this is not an active capability that's already been deployed. Although Russia's pursuit of this capability is deeply troubling, there's no imminent threat. She also didn't point to the potential timeframe in which Moscow might be able to deploy that capability. On May 1st, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Space Policy John Plum, in written testimony to the House Armed Services Committee, stated, "Russia is also developing a concerning anti-satellite capability related to a new satellite carrying a nuclear device that Russia is developing. This capability could pose a threat to all satellites operated by countries and companies around the globe, as well as to the vital communications, scientific, meteorological, agricultural, commercial, and national security services we all depend on." In response to Mike Turner, a Republican from Ohio, who chairs the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, on the impact that detonating such a weapon in space could have, Plum indicated that coming to a definitive conclusion remains challenging. However, he did note that satellites that aren't hardened against nuclear detonation in space, which is most satellites, could be damaged and affected. Some would be caught in an immediate blast, which would not be able to survive the flux of that, and then others could be damaged over time. The revelation comes at a crucial juncture. On April 24th, Russia vetoed a UN Security Council resolution to reaffirm the 1967 Outer Space Treaty's bar on weapons of mass destruction in space. The U.S.-Japan resolution marked the first time the issue of outer space security has been put before the UNSC, although debate has been ongoing for decades in other UN bodies. During the debates, Russia's ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, stated that Russia vetoed the resolution because the resolution only addressed the prohibitions of nuclear weapons in space rather than all weapons. Nebenzia also pointed out that existing international agreements, such as the Space Treaty, already encompass the provisions outlined in the resolution. So essentially, he indicated that Russia's decision was based on concerns regarding its scope and redundancy in light of existing treaties. Robert Wood, U.S. Ambassador and Deputy Permanent Representative, noted that the purpose of the resolution was to affirm countries' commitments to the treaty, specifically its prohibition of placing nuclear weapons or other weapons of mass destruction in outer space. Wood said Russia was attempting to conceal its true intentions by pushing to change the resolution's language. During the early years of the Cold War, both the Soviet Union and the U.S. conducted nuclear detonations in space. The most significant occurred in 1962, when the United States carried out the Starfish Prime experiment. This involved detonating a 1.45 megaton nuclear device at an altitude of approximately 450 kilometers or 280 miles above sea level. The explosion generated an electromagnetic pulse and persistent radiation belts. According to a 2022 report by the American Physical Society, 8 out of the 24 satellites then in orbit were ultimately destroyed by these effects, including one belonging to the United Kingdom. Space represents a critical domain and is indispensable for the day-to-day functioning of the U.S. military as well as the nation as a whole. To counter traditional ASAT weapons, U.S. armed forces have explored the use of different commercial options, including systems like SpaceX's Starlink for conducting future operations via distributed satellite constellations. Derek Tournier, director of the Space Development Agency, SDA, said, "We'll have hundreds and hundreds of these satellites up there. It will cost more to shoot down a single satellite than it will cost to build that single satellite. We just completely changed that value equation." A nuclear ASAT looks like a Russian response to this. The United States' advantage in space is clearly something rivals are seeking to negate, and it seems they're prepared to go to great lengths. It's evident the U.S. government and military has reasons to be uneasy about Russia's nuclear anti-satellite weapon.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.